Fly Nubia Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Imagine sending your child to school and they come home or come out with a blood alcohol level high enough to knock out an adult. That's exactly what happened to a 4-year-old girl in Alabama. Her parents picked her up from school on April 28th to find her barely responsive, and a teacher casually told them to take her to the ER. Turns out the child had ingested a dangerous amount of alcohol with a blood alcohol level of 0.29%, which is high enough to be fatal. This tragedy raises serious questions. How did this happen? Why wasn't the school more proactive in contacting the parents? The emotional and financial toll on the family is unimaginable. And today we'll discuss how we can hold schools accountable and demand better safety measures for our children. Good morning, good afternoon. Today we are hosted by this beautiful panel of queens. We have Dr. Alicia Watkins, she is a therapist. We have Noma Lenga, who's our cultural advocate today, and Aisha, who's an insurance and financial expert. Before we get into your first thoughts, I want to watch the video so that everybody can have a chance to view it, as well as those of you in the audience. Thank you for being here with us today. Let's watch this video, and then we're going to get into more dialogue and conversation around how does this happen, and then what can we do to prevent it.
4-year-old girl spent 2 days in the ICU after her family says she was picked up from school severely ill. The girl's mother saying her daughter's body was limp, and now police are investigating. Our Ashlyn Mitchell has this story. And Ashlyn, the family says the girl ingested a large amount of ethanol.
Yeah, that's right, Cameron. The girl's toxicology report given to us by her parents shows her blood alcohol content was a dangerous 0.29. It's still unclear how the child ingested the ethanol, also known as ethyl alcohol, and where she got it. I spoke to the girl's frustrated parents who say their daughter was released from the hospital today, but they still want answers.
It's just really hard to deal with. You see your child walking in school and being carried out, and don't have an idea of what's going on.
The Singletons say the school called them about their daughter's condition 2 minutes before school dismissed on Monday. Her mother says her daughter was nearly unresponsive in the nurse's office when she picked her up. Her family rushed her to the hospital. Once there, the girl was found to have a blood alcohol level of 0.29, which is extremely dangerous. I reached out to Mobile County Public Schools for a statement and have yet to hear back. Pritchard police say they're investigating the incident, but it's possible they could pass the case on to the Child Advocacy Center. The CAC, meanwhile, encourages parents and guardians to make sure ethanol products are out of reach of young children. The Chemical Safety Facts organization says ethanol is found in a variety of products, from household products to hand sanitizers, food packaging systems, perfume, and much more. Ethanol is one of the oldest and most versatile solvents.
Dr. Lenny.
Thank you. I'm just sitting around here talking. Aisha, what are your thoughts when you see this type of news, this type of report on children, poison, schools? What are your first thoughts?
I was just so taken by the amount, when they say the amount, and I was just thinking, I had so many questions as a parent, so many questions in my head. Who was there? Why? How? That was my first thought when I saw that video.
All right. Noma, like, what about you? When you see something like this to a little baby, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm a major advocate of homeschooling. But one of the things that comes to mind is that they said that some of the poisoning that they found in the child can also be found in the home. So I think that this is really just a tragedy. But I'm like Aisha, I have more questions, just a lot of questions jumping into my mind that I think are still unanswered.
Yeah, when I see it, I have more questions than anything else. There's so much we don't know. Dr. Alicia, what about you? What are your first thoughts when you see this video?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to tell like who's to blame. I do know child advocacy centers. I work with the one here in my home city, and I know they are really great at getting down to the bottom of things. What happens when children are endangered? I mean, it's really unfortunate. You send your kids to school and you expect them to be supervised properly and cared for, and something fell apart.
Yeah, and lots of good points. You send your child to school. It can be found in household items. You don't know if your child brought it from home to school. You don't know if it happened at school. There's just so much that's unsaid, that's unspoken. So we don't know. So there's so many different angles to take this from. We don't know if the daughter brought it from home and brought it to the school, or if she did it at school, or if she found the chemicals at school. What we know is the poisoning or the effects, let's say that, took place at school. So whether she brought it from home or it happened at school, she probably ingested it at school, which means at somewhere somebody wasn't watching. Somewhere somebody wasn't paying attention. At some point, she got someplace and she was able to ingest it. What do we think we can do, Dr. Alicia, when things like this happen in schools? Is it a supervision issue? Is it a safety issue? What do you think? You're on mute if you're talking.
It sounds like that is an issue. Thank you. And what I would recommend is for the parents, the child advocacy center, and the school collaborate and work together to try to find out what's happened, put some things in place to make sure that doesn't happen again. I'm not certain that we hear too many instances of this. So, but as long as everybody's cooperating and working together, I'm certain they'll get down to the bottom of it. Hopefully this will be a signal to say, okay, this child fell through the cracks, and let's see if we can put something in place to make sure this doesn't happen again. That's my hope, that we'll see what's going on with this child.
Yeah, so Maddie Jackson says, had she come to school like that, they would have called CPS. The dad said that she walked into the school, which is true, right? So she walked in of her own accord, everything was fine. And so we know that whatever it was, however it happened, she ingested it at school. What we don't know is how she got it and where she got it. We just know that it happened on the school grounds. So Nomalinga, what is it that tragedies like this often, why is it? It says, why is it that tragedies like this often seem to happen in underserved schools, especially in Black communities?
Okay, so the most basic thing is that I think child proofing is important. I have 4 children, and I do know even for myself that with the first child, the place was 100% proofed. By the time the 4th child came around, it was a little more lax. It's like with each child, you relax a little bit more. But I think in terms of parents and homes, this is a reminder, a very tragic reminder, that we should go back to understanding that when a child is small, we do have to be on our P's and Q's, 100% foolproof or child-proof things. Then to your question about underserved schools and communities. I used to advocate for parents to make sure that they have a presence in schools all the time. Even if you're a working parent, I used to be, when, our children were later homeschooled, they were only in school, our oldest two anyway, were only in school a little bit, and then I took them out and I homeschooled them. But when they were in school, one thing is I was a schoolroom mom. I can't remember if that's what they still call it. And I was still working full time at the time, but I only worked Monday to Thursday. So on Fridays, I would go and be a schoolroom mom. And if every mother in the school takes turns doing that, we have a presence in the school system. We went on field trips. Again, these are all safety issues because what we're really looking at is ratios. When you look at the homeschool mother who has maybe 2, 3, 4 kids, the ratio is 1:4. Now you look at a teacher in a school system, they could have up to 30 kids in one classroom. The ratio is 1:30. And even if they have a teacher's assistant, then the ratio is 1:15. And if we're being honest, it's impossible for one person to watch 15 kids 100% of the time and make sure that they're safe. So the environment in of itself is just not 100% safe. So it's up to us as parents to advocate for our children. And the way we do that is with a presence in the schools. And the truth is, if you're in the classroom over and over and other parents are in there, we're more likely to notice things. You're going to see that, oh, wait a minute, is that, that alcohol that they clean for a 3, 4-year-old, that's dangerous. For older kids, it's just something to wipe their hands with. For little kids, they put everything in their mouth. And sometimes it takes a parent to notice some of those things because unfortunately, sometimes preschool, early childhood education teachers and so forth, they're not necessarily parents. And there may be some things that go unnoticed.
So in underserved communities and or schools, Black communities specifically, we have issues of too many children in the classroom, is what you're saying. So there's too many children there in the classroom. There's not enough teachers. Teachers can't keep an eye on all the children. So they're underserved, underfunded, understaffed. Parents are probably having to work more, so they're not being able to be present in the school as much as they can and or could and or should to see the things that are happening in the schools. All great points. We're going to go to break and we're going to come back and we'll talk about this some more when we get back after this commercial.
Woo! It's a good show right here. But I'm biased. If you are just tuning in, you are watching Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. My name is Tiara Williams. I'm also known as Miss Black Hollywood, and I'm the proud producer of this show because it is lit. If you want to receive notifications for when we go live Monday through Friday, 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All you have to do is text the word Queens to 87948. That's Queens to 87948. That's QUEENS to 87948. Also, if you want to grow your money and not blow your money, all you have to do is go to flynubianmoney.com. There's all kinds of resources, there's courses, there's free giveaways. There's just no reason to be broke in 2025. All you have to do is go to flynubianmoney.com. Obviously, you don't want to be entertained here. You want to know enough to grow. Wait, I need to put that on a shirt. You got to know to grow. Got to know to grow. So know and grow with flynubianmoney.com.
So know and grow. You got to know to grow. Okay. So, all right, let's go to a stat, the health disparity stat, I believe. You can go ahead and put it up, Gwen. A study by the American Academy of Pediatrics found that Black children are more likely to experience significant health disparities, including being less likely to receive timely medical care in emergency situations. This statistics is particularly relevant when considering the delayed response from the school in this incident involving the 4-year-old girl. Dr. Alicia, I want to ask you a question about what kind of an impact does this type of a tragedy have on the emotional well-being of Black families, particularly those that are already facing like financial struggles when you deal with something like this? It's emotional, but it could be also it's financial too, depending on if they have insurance or not. But emotionally, what is that? What happens here?
Well, it adds to stress levels. I mean, if you want to, you're always wondering, I don't know what type of school this is, if it's a multi-race school, if there's white teachers involved in the school. Every Black parent is always wondering, is this teacher taking out their issues with Black people on my child. You're always like wondering if your child is emotionally safe, let alone reading and writing and all the other things. So it is important, just what Nomalengo talked about, a good school will welcome a parent's presence. It's a red flag if you volunteer, and I know a lot of parents, even from low income families, they volunteered a lot. Even if they came and helped, you can cut out, because children at 4 years old, things need to be cut out, and letters and numbers. They need someone to read to the child. They should welcome and have open doors for parents to come in and participate to help the school out, because you talked about low serving schools where there's like too many students to teacher ratio, and turnover is high. Some of the social emotional issues that children have from low income neighborhoods, they bring that into the classroom. So it's extra disciplinary work. So a good school will want parents to come in and volunteer and help and just create an atmosphere where just in those school hours, they can bring some love and encouragement to the child.
I like that. That's really good. Aisha, what do you think? How can we hold schools accountable for incidents like this? What needs to change in the school policies?
Wow, that's hard. I think that I know that just thinking about it, representation matters, right? People that are taking care of our children, and making sure that if the school is staffing the teachers or the helpers, if parents are not allowed to be involved, they should have a multi race of people doing that, because that way no child will feel left out. Because it's easy for people to want to hire people that look like them, because it's easy to communicate. It's just natural. But I think if you know that you have a school that has a lot of diversity, it's important to also have the teachers or the helpers to be diverse. That way they can manage the kids according to what is needed. And because if a child is of a different race, and somebody that looks like this, their race is there, they know how to handle it because of their culture. They'll be able to handle them, and that child will feel more comfortable as well, and it's okay. So I think in hiring, the school should be attuned to that okay, let's make sure we have this our student, because they will know how many students they're going to have and what their races are. Okay, these are the students we're going to have. Let's make sure that we have a diverse representation of teachers and also helpers. But more importantly, I think if parents can be involved, I think it's a very powerful. Even if it's not your child's parent, just having a parent that is not a staff makes a huge difference. And I think the school, like Dr. Alicia said, if they don't allow parents to participate, it's a red flag. Like if you don't have open door to allow them to come in, it's a red flag. So I think that would be a great way for them to make that a possibility.
Okay. Norma, you had some yeses and you had some nos, and you had some yeses and you had some nos. What are your thoughts?
I was shaking my head because she was saying, they know that they don't have enough diversity and so forth. They don't care. Honestly, that's been my experience. A lot of times with diversity, it seems to be imposed on schools and workplaces. But the people who are actually in charge oftentimes just feel like this is an irritating thing that they have to deal with. And it's kind of forced on them to think about things that they are just not thinking about. So that's why I always say, it's really up to us as parents to advocate for our children. We can't force, most neighborhoods in the United States, no matter where you go, are going to be predominantly white, because naturally the whole country is, right? So you can't force some of these things, but you can empower yourselves where you can. And again, I keep saying it, I've always said it, the way that we empower ourselves is having teachers, or rather parents that are present in the school, present in the classrooms, and understanding that that's what's going to empower them to protect their kids and advocate for their children. Because unfortunately, the schools just feel like it's an extra thing that they have to do to be thinking about diversity.
I think it's to your point is when you are the facilitator or the leadership, or you're an educator, we'll just say it that way. In your mind, you probably think that you're thinking about all the kids. You don't even realize or know that you have an unintentional bias. It's innately in you. It's one of the things where they say, I'm not a racist, I have Black friends. You're not even thinking about it
Or
when
Black
you're in
maid.
school. Huh? What'd
Or
you
a
say?
Black maid.
Or, but
Black
yeah,
maid.
you're not thinking about it. You're not thinking about it. It's innately in you and who you are. And so when you go into schools and you show up as an educator, you're like, I treat everybody the same. I do this the same. But you don't realize that there are just some innate, unintentional biases in who you are and how you operate and who you are as an educator. Some of it may or may not be taught, but we can ask Dr. Alicia some of this stuff. And you're at a collegiate level from an education, but you're in education. Do you see, I gotta be careful how I ask this question. As an educator who is in education and you've been doing training and you've been in it for a while, do you see any biases taught or learned from educators and how they deal with students?
Yeah, I mean, I used to do some work on doing trainings for for teachers and administrators and bringing their awareness up about how biases are unconscious. You don't know that you're doing them, and they could come out in various different ways. How do you teach a class to girls versus teaching with a classroom full of high energy boys? What's the best way of doing that? Now, those sorts of trainings happen, and whether the teacher on the receiving end of that digests that and is able to incorporate that into her repertoire and bring in more diverse content and diverse understanding about how every student learns, and culture plays a part in that. That is left up to the teacher to do that. It's very difficult to be able to tell, but you feel it. When your teacher don't like you. Who the teachers are that are racist. And my children go to a school now, in high school, it's like 1% Black. And they know who the good ones are, and they know who the not so good ones are. I mean, you just feel it. And usually if you feel like someone's taking out their issues on you, it's usually pretty accurate. So there have been many times where I've been like, say the word, and I'll be in my car and I'll drive down there and I'll be talking. And I'm going to say something like, not today, so I'm that kind of mama who will do that. And so you got to keep them on their P's and Q's. This is a great signal that parents, we got to tune in to the experiences our children are having in school. You have to ask questions. Were you ever uncomfortable today? Like, who did you sit next to at lunch? And why did you sit next to this person? What's happening? It's important if you see your child walk through the door and you could tell from their body language that they're slumped down, that they're not happy, have a conversation with them about what they experience. Not that you could solve everything, but at least if they have a painful event that happened outside of the house, at least they know they can come home and have a wonderful conversation with their parents about strategy and just to get the emotional load off their chest.
Man, you brought up so many great points. I know we're going to take time taking notes, because when your child is older, it's easier for them to advocate for themselves and tell you what's going on. But when they're 4, they don't know what they're feeling really. They might not know how to express it. So if you don't ask them questions that pull out how their day was, we don't know if this little girl's being bullied. We don't know if somebody poured it in. Like, we have no idea, and we don't know if it could have been averted. We don't know any of those things, but we don't know if these parents asked this. Let me say all that. We don't know any of this, right? But if a parent were to say, hey, how was your day today? Where did you sit? How did you feel? How was your teacher with you? Then maybe if there were signs that something was going on, it might have been easier to communicate and pull out of a 4-year-old versus an older child that said, let me tell you what happened today at school. This is what happened with my teacher. And so I think that's just a great point that all parents can utilize if they have younger kids who are going to school, to kind of get a better feel for what's going on in their school, with their classroom, with their classmates, on the playground, etc. Because when you're that young, you don't really know how to express something that happened at school. So we're going to take a break on that note. We're going to come back and keep having this discussion.
I know. You're busy, you got things to do, and you can't take us on the go with you every single day. Good news for you. We are now on Spotify. So if you can't watch us, now you can listen to us on Spotify. Search Fly Nubian Money and all the episodes shall appear. All you have to do is like, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, leave some comments, tell people how you love us so that when other people come along and are looking for a great show to watch, they can find Fly Nubian Money too. One last thing, and just in case you've been sitting under a rock, Fly Nubian Money now has an investment club. We are the Fly Nubian Money Club. It's easy. All you have to do is go to flynubianmoneyclub.com, and I am committed to bringing in top experts from all industries to help you level up. They're teaching us the skills that we need to compete in this market. We often say that nobody is coming to save us, not the government, but guess what? We're coming to save us. I'm coming to save you with the Fly Nubian Money Club. So listen, all you have to do again is go to flynubianmoneyclub.com. We have a 30-day free trial set up just for you, just for those people that are struggling. Even if you ain't struggling, you ain't got to struggle. I'm coming. Okay, let me stop playing. I'll see you soon.
You ain't got to struggle. We coming. All right, so today we're talking about a 4-year-old girl that's exactly a 4-year-old Black student was poisoned at school, and she was 4 years old. She was in Alabama. They took her to the hospital. She had a blood alcohol level of 0.29, which is high enough to be fatal. And so we're talking about that. Gwen, are we going to show the video again? She didn't answer me before, but I know she's there. All right, I think we're going to be showing the video a second time for those of you who are just clicking in. I think we're going to show the video one more again. All right, let's go to video.
4-year-old girl spent 2 days in the ICU after her family says she was picked up from school severely ill. The girl's mother saying her daughter's body was limp, and now police are investigating. Our Ashlyn Mitchell has this story. And Ashlyn, the family says the girl ingested a large amount of ethanol.
Yeah, that's right, Cameron. The girl's toxicology report given to us by her parents shows her blood alcohol content was a dangerous 0.29. It's still unclear how the child ingested the ethanol, also known as ethyl alcohol, and where she got it. I spoke to the girl's frustrated parents who say their daughter was released from the hospital today, but they still want answers.
It's just really hard to deal with. You see your child walking in school and being carried out, and don't have an idea of what's going on.
The Singletons say the school called them about their daughter's condition 2 minutes before school dismissed on Monday. Her mother says her daughter was nearly unresponsive in the nurse's office when she picked her up. Her family rushed her to the hospital. Once there, the girl was found to have a blood alcohol level of 0.29, which is extremely dangerous. I reached out to Mobile County Public Schools for a statement and have yet to hear back. Pritchard police say they're investigating the incident, but it's possible they could pass the case on to the Child Advocacy Center. The CAC, meanwhile, encourages parents and guardians to make sure ethanol products are out of reach of young children. The Chemical Safety Facts organization says ethanol is found in a variety of products, from household products to hand sanitizers, food packaging systems, perfume, and much more. Ethanol is one of the oldest and most versatile solvents.
So just so much to unpack here, so many questions. We're going to go to a quick stat on medical emergencies and how they impact Black families. So Black families are twice as likely as white families to struggle financially during medical emergencies, according to a 2020 Brookings Institution report. Limited wealth and resources in many Black communities make unexpected healthcare costs even more challenging. So I think there's another stat. Is there another one, Gwen? Black children are more likely to experience childhood trauma, including neglect or injury. The emotional toll can contribute to long-term mental health challenges, which disproportionately affect Black children due to systemic inequality in access to mental health resources. So we have a 4-year-old baby who's been poisoned. We don't necessarily know when or where. We know that they picked her up from school and she's stumbling. Man, there's so much to unpack here. No, Malanga, I know that you are an advocate for homeschooling, right? So don't send your baby to school so this doesn't happen. But for the parents, all parents can't be at home. All parents can't homeschool. So for parents who do have to send their children to school, what steps can parents take to ensure that their child's school is doing enough to protect them?
I think I kind of mentioned it earlier, is that presence in the school system. Before you ever even put your child in the school, it's wise to go in there. Nobody believes me, but when I had to put our kids in daycare or preschool or whatever, a lot of times we'd go to different ones to check them out or whatever. But part of what I did to make a decision was just how I felt, and I think Dr. Alicia kind of alluded to this. I would really just kind of go there and spend the day or spend some time there, talk to the teachers, look around, and how I felt while I was there was a big indicator of whether I felt like I could leave any one of our children there for a whole day. So you do have to kind of go there, get a feel for that place, investigate the safety of it. There's really nothing else you can do except that. Then I can't emphasize enough. Advocate for a presence in the schools. The parents should be present in the schools. And the thing is, I know people have to work. I used to work full time, and my husband was working full time, but we still did what we could to kind of be there. If you get a day where you could get a half day, sometimes you can go lunchtime, spend lunch with the kids. I used to go to sports and play sport. You just that's really the best thing that you can do, is just be present. And if enough parents are doing that, and if you're the parent who's present and other parents are not present, be the parent that encourages other parents to be present. And just that presence, it just makes a world of a difference. There is no way that a child can ingest a dangerous chemical in a classroom while there's a parent there who's kind of keeping an eye on things. Because I know the teacher's doing, the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s. Then there's also discipline issues, which I think they have teacher assistants. But if you have a parent there who's just there for fun, for observation, and for helping, it makes a world of a difference, I think.
You brought up a good point. I know sometimes with homeschooling, they have like home. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I know that I have a couple of friends that do homeschooling, and sometimes they do the homeschooling. They'll have like a homeschooling, not a team, but a group, a family group,
co-op.
right? So a co-op, yes.
They're called co-ops,
We are
yeah.
co-op. So this family might do the math, this family might do the English, and so we rotate, right? Maybe that might be something that we can look at doing in the schools, where every parent can't be there, but we have a co-op of parents that show up. You do it on Tuesday, or it's 4 weeks in a month, right? So that's 5, 10, 15, 20 days, 25 days. There's 25 parents. So if each parent showed up for one day to be there to support, to be the eyes to see, and that could be something. I don't know, but there needs to be some. Basically, what you're saying is there needs to be some type of parental involvement in the schools, showing up to say that these kids are being watched out for, they're being cared for. Somebody has an eye on them. Aisha, how can schools, what can schools do to better allocate the resources to improve safety, especially in underfunded schools? So the resources that they do have, how could they be using them to better make sure that a situation like this doesn't happen again?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think again, depend again on what type of a school it is and where it's located. And I know sometimes we know location of your school matters depending on what kind of funding they're getting. We know that. We can act like that is not real. It's real. If a neighborhood doesn't have enough tax revenue coming to support the early childhood development schools, they will have less resources. And to me, at the end of the day, based on my experience, we can't look outward. We have to look inward. What are we doing as parents? Are we willing to sacrifice? Because we can't allow somebody to sacrifice for our children when we don't want to sacrifice for our own children. So we have to make that sacrifice and be there, and maybe don't buy that extra whatever we need to buy, so we can put the money together, maybe as a pool of families, and provide whatever our school needs, because it has to happen from us. If it's not coming from outside, we have to make it happen. And that sacrifice is important, because no matter how we try to talk around it, we have to be the ones to make that sacrifice, because those are our precious children. And if we don't have the resources to take care of them and the school is not providing it, we have to find a way to come together, to work together, to make sure that we provide that for our children. That's the only way I can think, because there's no way around it, because somebody has to do the hard work.
That's so good. I'm so sorry. I just got a message that my past, a pastor that just took me under her shoulder like a year or two ago and just brought me into some beautiful spaces. Her assistant literally just texted me that she passed away on Sunday. I'm
Oh,
like, oh my God, like,
um,
oof, it's just
sorry.
chills. Dr. Alicia, I'm looking for your question. There it is. What are the long-term emotional and psychological impacts on a child who experiences something like this? 4 years old, alcohol poisoning, in the hospital for we don't know how long. We don't know how this affects the brain. What kind of trauma psychologically could she be looking at for the rest of her life?
Okay, well, I'm so sorry to hear this news. Condolences
My
to
heart
you.
is just like, Pastor, her name is Angela Scott. And I met
Angela
her,
Scott.
like,
Woo.
yeah. And she invited me. She flew me out I got flew out, and I went to her church to speak.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I'm not a preacher, I'm a teacher. So I'm like, you don't have to be a preacher, you're a teacher. And I went there to talk, and her and her community, they just loved on me so much, and the event was so
Oh,
amazing. I literally came back, and for the next 6 months, my whole life changed. I got closer
oh,
to God.
wow.
My business started doing differently. I just started operating in a different way. And she just would call me and check on me and pray for me and send me love. She was just a beautiful woman. I was supposed to go out there this past year. I was supposed to go out there this coming August to speak. And I hit her up earlier this year, and she was like, "No, I have some other stuff going on. I think I'm going to postpone it. Let's talk about next year." I was like, "Okay, cool. I'll keep up with you." And then I hadn't talked to her for a while. I'd just been busy, and then that's what I got today. And I'm just like, my God.
Oh, oh, okay. Thank you for sharing, though.
Yeah. She was a dope lady. I mean, for her pastor, her story was amazing.
Oh, wow.
Oh man, she was just a cool lady.
Oh.
So that sucks. And she was kind though. She says, she told me about her service. She's like, I know how much she cared for you and appreciated it.
Oh.
I love her. I loved her so much. Yeah. I didn't even know that long, maybe a year and a half.
Oh gosh. All right. She sees something in you. Okay.
Yes.
The question. So, this is interesting. I'm listening to everybody speak, and I used to work in Chicago, South Side, and it was low performing schools. They call them Title IX schools. That's code for the students aren't scoring very well. And there were parents, even though there were low income parents who were busy and stressed out, they took out time to come to the school, and it showed because their child shaped up because they don't know when their mama coming into the school. We had a program there, the Child Parent Center. We would do it for 3-year-olds all the way up to 8th grade. Child parent centers were all over Chicago, and those schools did so much better. And the students did better. But one of the barriers that we used to have in trying to engage parents was that they themselves did not have a good experience in school. So when they sent their child to the school, they just couldn't come into the building because they did not have wonderful memories of going to that particular school. So that was a little bit of a barrier, and we had to talk to them about that, and some of those things would come out. So we had to reintroduce the school in a way that was really nurturing and loving to the parent so that the parent could come in, because what a lot of parents were saying was that I don't have time to come into the school. I'm stressed, all these things. But really, when we got down to it, there were psychological reasons why they weren't engaging and participating in the school the way that we knew that they could, and how it would benefit the child. So let's look at this 4-year-old. I'm thinking 4, she's just now starting her schooling, and this is a scary experience for her. I'm certain this is very scary. So whatever is going on with her emotionally, they've really got to help and heal some of these things where that she can create other memories associated with school that can kind of have her fully engaged in the educational process. I don't know what these parents are going to do. I personally would probably move, go to another school, or I don't know. I'm not certain, what would be the best thing to do. But that's the thing. It's just like this scared child, probably very frightened. A 4-year-old's not knowing what they're consuming. Somehow she got her hands on it, or someone gave it to her, God forbid. Any of these things. But they really do need to focus on the child's relationship to education and to schooling. This is a very significant nodal event. It's all over the news. People know about it. And so I'm not certain when she grows up what story she's going to make up to herself when reflecting on this very scary experience. Let's just assume she's 4 and she's just now entering into schooling. So, I would hope that she would get some sort of treatment. The family needs treatment. Did you see the look on those parents' faces? Those look like really conscientious parents. They look like great parents. I'd be very surprised if the parents were at any fault about what's happened. But so let's just assume, we haven't heard from the school, probably for legal reasons. The school can't reach out, but because of, you're violating confidentiality and all of those things. So, I'm not certain. I'm certain we got to stay on top of the story. We got to stay on top of the story and see what happens in the next couple of days. But that's the thing in terms of emotionally for this child. Hopefully somebody will create an atmosphere where it's more nurturing and where this child can feel safe. That's scary. One thing I will say is that the school did call the home. So that's a good sign for the school. The school someone brought her to the nurse's office. So that's a good sign for the school. They did respond. It'd be one thing if the school just was oblivious to what was happening to this child. So, they did. Let's give the school some credit. They took her to the nurse. The school called the parents. That sounds like that would be what a good school would do, but who knows? And hopefully they will respond to this child in a way that will make her feel comfortable being in a learning environment. And when you feel loved, you learn better when you feel loved. So hopefully this happens for this child.
I like that.
Dr. Lene, can I just say, I think it's interesting, Dr. Alicia's talking about how parents are so traumatized or have had such bad experiences in schools that they don't even want to step into the school, but they're putting their children in there. So that points out another thing that I used to talk about a lot, was that sometimes schools, for a lot of parents, especially for little kids like this, they're not really putting them in there to go to school. They're putting them to have them somewhere while they go to work, because there's nowhere else to put them. So they just don't have a choice. There's no grandma, no auntie, no whatever, and they can't afford childcare. And I have, experiences where I was working a high-level executive job and was barely making enough to pay childcare for 2 kids. So I can't even imagine in a low-income environment that there's money to support childcare, and then there's anything left over for other things. So I think that's also very important to point out, that sometimes it's because the parents just don't have any choice. That's where they live. That's the school that's there. They put their kid in there. It would be nice to remove the kid, and then put them where, homeschooling is not necessarily an option. There may not be family support to have the child there while they're working. So it's really a multi-level. It's like peeling an onion. There's so many issues that came before this child being poisoned at school, and even after that, there's so many other issues that sometimes are so multi-layered that it takes a lot of time and effort and resources and digging to solve the problem.
Those are, excuse me, those are really good points. As you're talking, I have a young girl that I mentor, and she's looking for some spaces for her daughter. She's like, well, it's over here and it's over there. And I explained to her, I was like, you guys aren't from Arizona, but I'll try to break it down the best that I can. I live in a city, at that time, I lived in the city called Tempe. And my job was over here. And the school that I wanted my son to go to called Sabus, which was in a Black community, was over here. And so I would have to leave where I live to drive him over to here to this Black school, and then go back past my house to go to work. to be at work on time. And then when I get off work, I have to leave my job, go past my house, back over here to this Black community to pick them up to come here. So it added like an hour and a half to 2 hours to my day, but it was important for me to have him in that school over there. And she was like, well, why did you do that? I was like, because it was important for me to have him in that school over there. So sometimes it's an inconvenience to get our kids to the schools where they need to go to see for them to get what they need to get. And I know that that's a blessing to be able to do that, and that everybody can't do that. So let me make sure I say that. But it is, I think, as parents, our responsibility to figure out what is the best route that we are capable of, right? Sometimes we do the one that's the easiest, but what else could I possibly do? Is it when I was going to school, when I was getting my bachelor's or my MBA, I would get off work and I couldn't get to my son in time to get to school. And so my mom would come and meet me. I'd be like, look, I gotta go to school, but I gotta pick him up too. So she would be like, okay, you go get him and I'll meet you at the school and I'll get him and take him home and take care of him. Sometimes you got to call in the community, right? Maybe you can get the kid to school, but somebody else has to pick him up, or her, depending on, but there's options. We just have to sometimes look to exercise them and then inconvenience ourselves in order to make some of these things happen. And so we're going to come back and do our final thoughts. We're going to dig a little bit deeper, take a closer look at the trauma on our children after the break, and we'll be back in a hot second.
Are you a Black business owner looking to expand your reach? Well, has Fly Nubian Money got good news for you? We are building a Black business directory to connect you with customers who need your services. And here is the best part. It is absolutely free. Email us at info@realvirtual.net. Send us your business name. Tell us a little bit about what you do, what services you offer, your website address, and your contact information. That's it. Together, we are going to build and circulate the Black dollar. Get listed today and start connecting with people who are probably already looking for you.
These people is already looking for you. That's what she said. Make sure you get listed. So let's go to our final stat before we close out with our final thoughts. School safety concerns for Black children. In a 2018 survey conducted by the National Black Child Development Institute, nearly 40% of Black parents reported concerns over the safety of their children at school. With issues ranging from bullying to inadequate supervision, this is a critical factor in understanding the underlying problem of school neglect. And so it says these issues range from bullying to inadequate supervision. And it says 40% of Black parents reported concerns. So with this, I want to ask this question and have you give your final thoughts at the same time. And that is, if you are a parent who is sending your child to school with a concern for their safety and or supervision, how do you approach, deal with, and or communicate with that school in a manner or in a way that makes you feel safe sending your child there? Okay, I'll start with you, Aisha. How do you communicate? How can a parent approach and or communicate with the school that they have to send their child to if they have concerns about any safety and or supervision?
Actually, as you're asking the question, I was just thinking about my own personal experience. My kids went to a religious school. My son had a fantastic experience there, no problem whatsoever. It's a Catholic school because we're Catholics, and they have their supervision. Everything was great with him. My daughter also started going to school there as a TK, very early age of schooling. Great experience, but when she got to 6th grade, started having issues, right? Meaning all her, now the kids are changing, their talents are coming, so then competition starts to happen between the girls, whatever it is. Then I started noticing some things with my daughter. She comes home, I'll ask her, I said, how was school today? The way she would answer is not the same like when she would answer before. So then I knew something was going on. Say, how was school today? It was okay. Before she would tell you more and kind of engage me, but she said, it's okay. So I knew something was wrong. Then I started digging in and paying more attention because I was always at the school anyway. You have to volunteer. You're required to volunteer. It's not even a choice. You have to volunteer. So I started noticing what was going on, and it's just, again, kids are growing, things are changing. So even as a parent, I was sad to watch it happening because I was there. But I realized that it's actually just kids being kids, and it's not fair for me to think it's because of the race. It only makes it more difficult for her growing up. So I just realized it's just kids being kids, because those same kids bully other kids. Make sense? The same kids cause issue with other kids, even though they're the same race. They cause problems with other children. So I spoke to the school and the principal. We talked about everything. They try to intervene. They get them together, had a conversation. Things will be better, and then it will happen again. So I decided to say, well, we have to decide as a family what we're going to do. So what do? We decided to take her to a different school, like you were saying, you, Dr. Delnay, that it was inconveniencing for you. You have to pass your home to go to another school. But we had to do that because we realized that our daughter's safety or mental safety is more important to us than the convenience. So we moved school. Now she's in a different school. She had to adjust there, but she's now thriving and doing well. So sometimes we just have to intervene as parents and just accept that, this is not working for my child over here. I have to move my child somewhere else. So that was how we were able to handle it, because they did try to intervene. It just didn't work out. Kids were doing whatever they wanted to do. So we moved our children out of the school. My daughter, my son did well, but so we moved her out of the school. So really that was what we were able to do. And sometimes just communicating with the school, see if they're trying to help you. But if it doesn't work out, then you make a decision for your family that will be best for your children. And that was exactly what we did.
Awesome. Can you tell people where they can find you?
Oh, yes. Yes, you can find me at www.aishaverzi.com or the Black Business School Coaching with Aisha Verzi.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Noma, what about you? How would you tell a parent to go about handling that same situation?
I think one of the things that's very important is to document things. Whenever you communicate with the school, whether it's a phone call or you do it in person, always follow up with an email or some kind of written communication, so that they understand that you are taking tangible steps towards, if need be, escalating or bringing in some kind of accountability. So unfortunately, that's what it is. We do have to kind of force accountability in the sense that they have to know that we're not going to, as parents, just allow things that are not acceptable to continue to happen. So you have to really document things. You have to follow up with things. And again, it always goes back. I feel like I'm sounding like a broken record. They have to know that you're a presence in that school. And the same thing applies to our children as well. When they know that their parent is there, they are also accountable, but they also feel safer. So that's the experience we had. Like Aisha, we also ended up having to make a decision to remove our children from the school, or at least at the time it was our daughter, and we didn't switch to another school, we just switched to homeschooling. But again, I think that, okay, schools are there. They can be a good resource to get our children educated, but I've always said that the primary responsibility of your child to be socialized, to be educated, to be protected, it lies with the parents, and we can never lose sight of that.
And where can people find you? How can they support you?
You can find me on Facebook. My name is, as it appears here, Noma Langam Sally Moses. I'm on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram as Noma Moses. We do have a charity also, padsforourgirls.com, and we're always asking for your support. You can go to padsforourgirls.com and contribute. Any small amount helps, so that we can help young girls in Botswana who are dealing with period poverty.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Dr. Leisha, we're going to round it out with you. What are your final thoughts, and how would you handle this situation?
Yeah, I mean, just to add to what everybody has talked about, definitely be collaborative. Is there a PTA at your school? Join the PTA. Go to the school board. Vocalize any concerns that you have, particularly if it's a public school, because your taxpaying dollars is going to that. Also, I've seen really innovative things happen. I have seen in our neighborhood, there's a senior center close by, and they get some of the seniors, the retired women, mostly women, and they would come into the school and they would do fun things for the teachers and the kids at the school. And I think that's just a wonderful way to like create an environment where it's just lovely, because the kids love when the older adults come in, because it's like the grandparents are there. And so it just creates a better opportunity to just have more eyes on things, and to support our schools. I've worked in schools as a social worker, for many, many years. And I gotta tell you, the teachers I ran into, 9 times out of 10, those teachers love teaching. They love what they do. They'd rather not do anything else than what they're doing. They put their heart and soul in it. And a lot of the teachers are sitting around saying, we need administration working with us. We need parents working with us. I have seen administration like really put their heart and soul in making sure that the school runs smoothly. Like, for the most part, from what I could see as a social worker, I've seen wonderful things happen in low performing schools. I just have seen some really marvelous diamonds in the roughs happen. And I see more than not, I do see a lot of success stories. Do success stories make it to the news? Probably not, right? So we just hear about these tragic situations, but keep in mind, it's not all bad. It's really the parents, the schools, the administration, the state, the school board, everybody really working together to make sure that the learning opportunities are best for kids. And I am Dr. Alicia. You can find me here, Coaching with Dr. Alicia. You can fill out my intake form and I'll get back to you if you want me to work with you.
I love it. Thank you so much. So my final thought is really, 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 really simple. And I thought that Norma was actually going to say it, but it's something that she always talks about, which is you need a village. You need a village. Whether you are a 2-parent household or a single-parent household, everything doesn't have to be you, right? I was a single-parent household, and so it was just me. But when me and my son was having issues or things was happening, if I couldn't get there, my mom would go there. That school knew me, and so whenever something was happening at that school with my son, they'd be like, "We're gonna call your mom." My son was buck up because he knew if they call me, I'm there. I'm Johnny on the spot. Don't you worry. I will sit in the class. I'll be there all day long, sit in the back, or my mom would. And the teachers used to always say, "We don't know this version of him." Because my mom would go and be like, "I don't know what they talk about. The boy is acting fine." And the teachers would be like, "We don't know this version." And so sometimes you got to pull up. You got to let the kid know you're going to pull up, and you got to let the school know you're going to pull up. Because some of the things that I was hearing about that was happening with other parents, they was not happening with me, because we was there. We was going to be there. We was going to pull up. I'd be there all day if that's what it took. And then slowly his behaviors and things started to act right, because he knew I will pull up on you. But you need a village, because sometimes it can't be you. Sometimes you do have to work. I'm highly blessed that I'm an entrepreneur. And so I was able to kind of do some of those things. And that's not everybody's case and story, but you do have to pull up on these schools. And it doesn't have to be you. It could be a niece, a nephew, an aunt, a cousin, a grandparent. Just as long as that school knows that this kid right here, this kid got support. This kid got backup. This kid is not out here by themselves. This kid, somebody will pull up on you and represent. And so that's what these schools have to know, is that these kids have somebody that loves them, that supports them, that has their back. Because if not, I think that's how sometimes these kids fall through the cracks. Because the parents that show up and advocate, those parents and those kids, they do well. The kids who don't have those advocates, they fall through the cracks. So be the advocate, whether it be for your child, your niece, your nephew, your grandkid. If you see a child that is starting to fall through the cracks, just step up, be there. And that's how I think we can do this as a community and support our children that are coming up through these public school systems. And so that's my 2 cents. I am Dr. Lene Javette. Boom, boom, boom. You can catch me right there on all social media platforms. And so thank you for joining us on today. This tragedy is a painful reminder of the gaps in our school systems and the urgent need for change. It's up to us, parents, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, communities, and leaders to demand accountability and make sure our children are safe. Let's stay united, advocate for our children, and ensure their future is protected, not just in the classroom, but in every part of their lives. Until we meet again next time, same time, tomorrow at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern. Take care, stay empowered, be blessed, stay Black, and be one. We'll see you guys tomorrow.